I wanted to hop on here and do my first video because there's no time like the present, and the best time is, now. I don't want to keep waiting, so I figured I would just go ahead and get started. So I want to start with my name. My name is Greg. I'm actually on, my handle here is G's one of one. I know your first video is always a little cumbersome, but it'll get, I guess more detailed as I go along, but I didn't want to let any more time pass before I start documenting my journey. So I guess I can call this Car Chronicles for the first video. But as I go along in the journey, I'm sure the videos will get better and better.
RMZ, what up?
So I just wanted to start with my name. Like I said, my name is Greg. I suffer with obesity. I'm a person with obesity. I'm getting used to, saying that versus, saying I am, but I'll say I'm with. I'm pretty much on my second month. This is my ninth week. 2 months. 31 calendar days, because yesterday would have been 30 days, and I'm down 30 pounds. And I thought that was something to celebrate. So I wanted to get on here and get started now because I think it's worth celebrating. I'm on a journey to lose 100 pounds. I started out at 320 and I want to get to 220, 319.6 to be exact. So, and today, I usually outweigh myself on Sundays, but I decided to jump in the middle of the week and take a look, and I was 289. So yeah, I thought the 30 pounds was worth celebrating in just 60 days. It's been 60 days. So, because January 5th was the day that I started. So I think that is an accomplishment. And I wanted to just kind of like get on here and let other African-American males know that, it's okay. It's cool to be on, you know what I mean? There's a lot of stigmas around, taking these weight medications, but just like all the other medications, if there's a need, you should be, okay to do so. I didn't see a lot of males, or African American males anyway, on maybe they are on TikTok, but not YouTube, because the first person I ever saw was Round Mountain Zepbound, Charles, and I kind of started. I started before seeing him, but when I went to search YouTube for other guys that might be doing this or other people, he was one of the people that came up, and he's been very inspiring. So I just wanted to get on here and just get it started because I know I keep, waiting and waiting, and I didn't want to do that. So again, I'm Greg. Please like and subscribe to my videos. I'm at G's one of one. I'm on a 100-pound quest, down 30 on 7.5. And I'll see you guys next video. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Almost afternoon. I wanted to hop on here and do my first video because there's no time like the present, and the best time is, now. I don't want to keep waiting, so.
What up, what up, what up, what up? I had the memory lane y'all for a minute. So just so y'all can see where it started. You know what I mean? I want y'all to see where it started. I want y'all to see just how far I came, man. I mean, my goodness. That is something else, man. This is 1 year of a influencer, right? That video being 1 year ago, and just thinking about my mindset at that moment was simply, you know what? I got to actually get on here and tell somebody about this. I was 9 weeks in at that point. When I did that video, I had already, like you heard, lost, a little over 30 pounds. You know what I mean? So I felt like I had to tell somebody because I just couldn't believe that the medication was working the way it was working for me. I said, because when I first, took my first shot, like I told everybody, I didn't know what to expect. So to actually be able to get on a medication and, for it to actually do what it did, I said, I can't keep it to myself. I just can't keep it to myself, right? Because I feel like to whom much is given, much is required, and I do feel like, that was definitely, I'm blessed because I like to bless others, you know what I mean? I don't gatekeep, and I actually am one that, is going to actually give out that information, you know what I mean? Here we are, a whole year later from my first video, you know what I mean? So I just thought it would be cool to start this out, just memory laning like that. you know. But good evening to everybody that actually decided to stop by and, chat with me this evening. I always appreciate people taking time out to stop by the channel and, say what's up and check in. You know what I mean? So, I didn't have a real agenda tonight other than to just come on, see who gets on and have a conversation, and just talk about reflection, right? To reflect is, important because it actually gives us the motivation to keep moving forward, So that's why my thumbnail was that particular photo of that video, because it's a reminder to me of how far I've come, that face, like my wife always says, she just didn't see me, that way, you know what I mean? Because, truth be told, obviously, we see each other, every day. So when you see each other every day, you're definitely not gonna, see each other in that manner, without pictures. That's why I say pictures are very important, especially throughout your journey. You know what I mean? Because if you go throughout your journey taking those pictures, then you know what I mean. You're easily, be able to, continue to fight for your why. You know what I mean? You got to fight for that why, because there's times where the journey, as the journey evolves, your mindset changes. You know what I mean? Through growth, development, and your point of view. You know what I mean? So it's through experience, right? Because your body's changing, your mentality is changing, and things that you start with, you don't end with. Why? Because, well, some things. Why? Because basically you learn as you go, and then you grow. You have development throughout the journey that actually has you look at, things a bit differently. You know what I mean? So yeah, I really think that, like I said, this is full circle as far as content creating. When you get through that first year, like I have, I really think that it's a decent reflection point to actually especially see that picture, because it's so striking. You know what I mean? The difference. Just my face, from then to now, obviously my weight, I've lost 96 pounds, 30% of my body weight. And again, on that, who would have thought that I would go from 319 to 223, you know what I mean, in the period of time that I did, you don't know, and that's why, I wanted to be an example, for people. And it also motivated me. I know I'm going to keep showing up, because I'm going to show up here and talk to you guys, and you guys get to see what it is that, I'm doing. Obviously, we have a lot of other, creators and influencers that are on their own journey. But, we got a lot of newbies, you know what I mean? There's a lot of newbies that's formulating, in these communities, and with different treatment. You got a lot of people on the pill now, you know what I mean, struggling and trying to like fight through what's the best, way to go for them. And then you got people that have been on the journey long term that actually are having, thoughts about like how to continue with their journey, whether it be, switching to, a different treatment, whether it be, titrating down, whether it be titrating up, whether it be, getting different cosmetic procedures, you know what I mean? So there's always, a lot it is that we could discuss, you know what I mean? And oftentimes, like where I thought like, well, should I continue doing, there's was time, times where I said, well, should I continue, getting on here talking about weight loss, because after you get to, or close to 100 pounds, it, may become a little bit redundant. But then I say, well, that's probably because things have changed with the availability of these treatments. Because if you can remember, not long ago, before these treatments were popular, let's say 10 years ago, when a woman lost 40 pounds, it was like, it was like something that like, it still is today, but it was something that was like highly celebrated and rare. You had a woman that go and lose 40 pounds or even 50 pounds, and now, for men, now men would lose, 40, 50, 60 pounds. But now, we regularly losing 80, 90, and 100 pounds. You know what I mean? Like before, I think I said in one of my past lives, you would actually go to like these bariatric clinics and you would see like that one person, you know what I mean? Like on the wall that lost that triple digit, you know what I mean? Now, you got tons of people in these communities that's losing, high amounts of weight. And saving their lives, you know what I mean? I just always tell people to like ignore the trivial things, you know what I mean, and the noise, and just stay on the journey, because consistency is the best the number one quality that you got to possess and the number one habit, to be successful. There's always going to be nuances and variables, who eats this much protein, who actually works out this much, who walks this much, who sleeps this much, who, takes this and that, but at the end of the day, hold on, let me put my phone on do not disturb. Give me a second. What I did. But at the end of the day, what's truly going to set things straight is going to be consistency. Because that's the number one thing. You know what I mean? Is to keep on taking your shot, to keep on doing the things that got you here. Because that's really what's best. You know what I mean? Keep doing the same things, and you're gonna actually come out on the other end of it. Much better than you were before. So that's what I feel. You know what I mean? Is like the key to everything. It's really the consistency. You know what I mean? It's really the consistency. So I mean, that's the number one thing I will always tell people. Like, say, well, hey, when I get on the journey, what's the one thing you would one bit of advice that you would give me? It would be to be consistent. You know what I mean? Travel Techie says, do I take any supplements? Yes, I take one a day vitamin, a men's Pro Edge. It's in my it's in my post. So if you go to my post on my channel, you'll see it. I actually tell people all the time that that's like the number one vitamin that I actually like, because it actually, especially once I got on the 12.5, it gives me energy. You know what I mean? It definitely gives me energy. So, but that's really what it is. But yeah, so I mean, that's the thing. Like, we all got different varying opinions as to what people could do. But number one thing I would say is be consistent. If you take your pen, every single week, you got good things ahead of you as far as the journey is concerned. The other thing I would say is don't put everything into the scale, right? Everything can't be, the scale can't be the end all be all, right? Because what it is there's often times where the scale's not moving, but your body is, and what I mean by that is pay attention to your clothes more than you do the scale, right? Because inches, really tell the story. Inches really tell the story, because there's times where your body is recomping, where the scale might go up, but yet and still, your body is changing. I've experienced that several times. I'll be a pound up and it's like, well, but my pants are getting looser and looser. You know what I mean? My shirt is getting looser and looser, which is telling me that, the body is recomping. You gaining a little muscle there, and you're losing fat. If that shirt's getting loose, make sure you take that tape measurement and measure, you know what I mean? Because that's where you can really tell, how well you're doing on the journey, not necessarily just the scale, get that tape measure out, and measure around that waist, especially for us fellas, right? Measure around that waist, because it really tells the story, you know what I mean, about the visceral and the subcutaneous fat that is the last to go, because that's my biggest struggle. And right now, I'm so happy that it's going to be warm. It was warm today. I actually went to, as the RMZ called it, old school, the picture show with my wife today, and we saw Scream 7. That was pretty good, so y'all guys should check it out. Where I see things trending, Darian, I think that things are, oh man, it's so many, man. It's so many, Darian. Like, it's not, it's definitely not like just the picture show. It's definitely not just and we did like the little old school photo booth. So if you go to my Instagram, y'all could definitely see that, you know what I mean, on my Instagram, the little picture that we did. Yeah, please put Q's in the chat so I can see, and I'm gonna definitely go back through and check all the questions and answer everybody, but I just happened to see Darium's, so I wanted to just address that really quick. I don't foresee one specific trend, right? The one dangerous trend I think we all have addressed quite a bit is the use of the gray market peptides, namely retatrutide, because people have issues with access and really can't wait to get their hands on it. I don't blame them. I really don't. I definitely don't blame them for attempting to get their hands on it, but you just want them to be safe. You know what I mean? And I know on Vanity's Live we were talking about we were talking about the reasoning why, you know, we really think gray market isn't safe versus compound and brand. And I was trying to explain to her that it's all about sterility, right? The sterility is what's at risk because of the additives. You know, that's the number one thing I believe. You know what I mean? As somebody that manages a pharmacy and we do compounding, right? The main thing, you know, is the regulation of sterility is not there. You know what I mean? For the gray market. So the additives, believe it or not, even when they're, you know, because obviously there's a different range of what sterility looks like, right? It might not be something that would actually, you know, be deadly or hazardous in a way that it would kill you, but you can get very sick just from simple additives at injection site. You know, some people, not the medication itself, because the medication might be absolutely fine, but the actual additives are something that actually could actually make people sick, right? So, and that's on the lower level. Now, there also are hazards because of cleaning agents, right? There are cleaning agents that are also used in research peptides that people don't understand, right? That aren't supposed to be going into your body, right? So these are the nuances that the layman, right, might not actually think about because they're getting it for a cheap price, right? Because that's usually the thing, right? It's about affordability. And when it's not there, it's like, okay, well, it's inexpensive, but normally you get what you pay for. You get what you pay for. You know what I mean? Like, that's always been a thing, and it's still a thing. You know what I mean? Like, we definitely get what it is that we pay for. You know what I mean? And a lot of times, you know, it's the lack of safety. You know what I mean? It's definitely the lack of safety. So that you actually missing. So yeah, I mean, while branded medication can also suffer the same fate as a compound and even a gray market, is very rare because they actually are generally, you know, working within those rigorous guidelines to meet sterility, you know, testing. So, you know, you got people with the gray market that send it off, you know, to try to make sure that it's safe. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Like, they send it off to get tested, but I mean, at some point, you know, you start to spend more money, you know what I mean, just doing all of the things that you're doing just to try to get to. I would say if you're on a low dose and you're just starting out, more than likely, and especially if you're using something like a semaglutide, you can definitely find that probably close to what you're paying for, you know, a gray market that you are sending off to get tested. You know what I mean? You just really got to sit down and look at your budget, you know what I mean, and realistically, you know, the other thing is you probably don't want to buy 6 and 8 months of medication, because the other thing is you're actually going to like pivot during your journey, you know, based on what's actually going on. You know what I mean? Like, there's going to be times where you actually pivot and not necessarily need or want the particular dose that you order in bulk, right? So it's probably never really even a good idea to just order in bulk, because, you know, you're going to change throughout your journey. You know what I mean? So for me, I would say never buy more than 3 months. You know what I mean? 3 months is fine, because that's typically about what you probably, as we've learned, should be on each dose anyway. So there's no harm, no foul. But do you want 9 months or a year, you know, worth of a beginner dose? Probably not, right? Probably not, right? So, you know, I just think that that's something that you definitely want to outweigh, especially if you're on something like semaglutide, right? Because you can definitely get that right now for, you know, at least from a trusted compound place, right? If you're not going to go brand, I still think for semaglutide at this point, you should probably be able to, you know, you probably if you really sit down and look at the money you're spending, you probably could get a semaglutide branded medication, you know, at this point. Now, as you move up into like tirzepatide and things of that nature, you probably could go for compound, right? And especially using all of the coupons, or even if you're just starting, the Wegovy pill, right? Now, obviously, this is going to be determined based on how much weight you have to lose, because oftentimes I see people that are, you know, clinically obese, right? Clinically obese, meaning their BMI is 40 or above, right? So your BMI is 40 or above, and you actually going on a medication who's averaging results of 15%. Right now, we know that generally that's with the average, you know, and I'm not talking about like, let's say diabetics, but I'm saying people that's just on it for weight loss, right? That they're probably going to see more than that. On semaglutide, a lot of them are seeing 20%, right? You're seeing 20%. So even still, you're still not in the realm that would probably be considered enough, because most people who have clinical obesity clinical obesity probably need to drop about 35% of their body weight, right? You probably need to drop about 35%, right? And you probably might not get there with a medication that's offering 15%, right? So for example, if you're a 200 and let's say 80-pound lady, right, and you need to get to about 180 pounds, right? You might not be able to, you might not get there with the pill that's offering 15%, you know, with 20% of your body weight. What is that? If my math is right, what is that, 40 pounds? You know what I mean? So, you know, even if you do really well, you're still well up in the 200s, you know what I mean? Or in the teens, you know, and that's probably not as significant. It's clinically significant because technically all you need to lose is about 10%. Actually, 7% can be clinically significant. But when you get to 10%, it's like now we in business, right? So that's where you got clinical significance, right? So, so that's where you get, that clinical significance. So I should pause to say that, you know, I'm not a physician or you're a physician. So the things that I'm actually expressing on this video is just simply things that I've learned through my own experience utilizing Zepbound for the past 60 weeks. I'm on week 61. I'm on the 12.5 milligram that I'm taking once a week. And I actually lost the majority of my weight in 45 weeks, right? In 45 weeks. And since moving to the 12, and I actually misspoke in my last video because I said that I was on the 12 milligram for 6 weeks, but it's been much longer. You know, I've actually been on for about I want to say not almost 9 weeks. Almost 9 weeks. I think 8 weeks for sure. Probably about 8 weeks, at least 8 weeks. You know what I mean? Because I started in the beginning of January. So at least eight, maybe 9 weeks I've been on the 12.5. So, and I'm loving it. Like I said, because I can actually go to the bathroom a bit easier. Believe it or not, because people did say that once you move to that 12.5, and people obviously that are on the 10, right? People that actually are on the 10, they actually won't experience this most likely because they hadn't moved to the 12.5, but because we got a lot of people that, you know, hit the 10 that basically have been on the journey for quite some time that don't go past that. But when you actually do hit that 12.5, you actually are, because I heard it, like people kept, like they were saying, like, you know, once you get to that, you can actually use the bathroom better. And I can, like, I'm not as constipated with the 12.5, believe it or not. And I really, 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 really like this dose. Like, I did like the 10. When I first got on the 10, I did have some irregular heartbeat. I have a regular heartbeat, so I had a little bit of issues, you know, with that, you know, sort of kind of like increasing my heart rate a little bit, which we know is supposed to, it said that it would do. But basically, with the 12.5, I actually went ahead and titrated to that in December or beginning of January, and knowing, you know what I mean, that, you know, because it was based on food noise and not weight loss. So, yeah. So, and I will pause to say, if you're not subscribed, you know, please subscribe and hype the video if the option is available. And let's like the chat. We got 9 people on and 6 likes. So if you haven't liked it, please pause and just like it so that way the algorithm can tell that this is something that you want other people to see and you enjoy the channel. I'm actually up to about 250 subscribers and looking to continue to grow. And I think that's going to happen because we have so many new people that are actually entering the space, whether it be for, and I mean the weight loss treatment space, right? And I'm careful to say just simply, you know, say GLP-1 because we have so many options now and they're only going to develop even further, right? So, yeah, so just please like the chat because basically we want people to know that you stopped by, you know what I mean, and you listened to G's 101 and you liked it, and we want other people to know G's 101 is out here in these YouTube streets and basically, you know, attempting to grow the channel to those that, you know, care to be educated on, you know, my journey and the journeys alike, right? Where was I? Oh, yeah, so I was talking about I believe the titration for me and personally to 12.5 and saying how, you know, the different effects, you know, allow me to actually, you know, utilize the bathroom. And I was talking about evolution, right? Evolution, because people do evolve, you know what I mean, to, while on the medication, have different thoughts and ideas, right? Now, we all know that body recomposition is very important, right? But for some people, you have to focus on one thing at a time, right? Even though we want people to be multifaceted, everybody's different, right? So some people have to focus on weight loss first, and then once they actually lose a significant amount of weight, can move into recomp, right? Now, you do have a lot of other things going on. for some people, whether that be surgeries like myself, I had a surgery, and other things, like affordability where they might have got lost access and gained access back. So there's a million things that can actually get in the way, right? But I will say, like I said, what you want to do is if nothing else, just try to be consistent and take the medication as long as you have access, because that's part one, you know what I mean? And then everything else follows, right? Based on your own personal goals. So for me personally, my goal is just like kind of like decreasing my fat percentage, right? If I can continue to decrease that fat percentage to about 24%, because that's kind of like my goal. I don't have a goal of being 10 or 15%. If I get to 20, amazing, you know what I mean? But right now I'm at 29.4, right? And I've come a long way because I started out at almost 40%. I was probably right around 40% body fat, you know what I mean? So now to be at 29.4, in just 60 weeks, I think it's amazing because, again, I still have not went to the length of the original Zepbound trial, which was 72 weeks. So I'll be very interested in what happens for me over the next 12 weeks. It's going to be very interesting because I do have plans on turning up, right? And what I mean by turning up is I get to go outside. I get to start walking on my incline, on the hills, and, lifting weights. So I do have a plan, you know what I mean? Because I'm fully out of, that recovery, so to speak, right? Because, while it's been 5 months, since I had my foot surgery, or no, 4 months and maybe a week, since I had my foot surgery, that's doing better. I still have issues with my other foot, so I'm not going to push it to where I put myself out of commission. But I'm definitely going to turn up a little bit and see what it brings me. You know what I mean? So I could see some more body fat being lost, because like I said, the main thing I'm working on is kind of like that spare tire region, because we all know that's the last to leave, right? And by that's done purposefully, by your biology, right? The last part to leave is going to be that spare tire, right? Because that's where your energy is, right? That's where your energy storage is right there in that spare tire area, right? That's where all that excess energy is stored. And we know that it's more than just calories in, calories out, and moving. It's also making sure that, I get proper sleep, making sure I keep my stress low, making sure, it is that I'm actually being consistent with those things outside of the working out, you know what I mean? Because that's one part of it. Everybody knows I get plenty of protein, you all see, as Darium call them, the half of buffaloes. Darium like to call them the half of buffalo with my steak. So everybody pretty much know, like, I'm pretty much a connoisseur, and I usually get a steak at least once a week. You know what I mean? Sometimes I'll skip. So I eat about 3 of them steaks a month, right? So, 2 or 3 a month, I'll get those steaks at least. So, and I'm getting 140 grams of protein in one sitting with that, But outside of that, I also do eat a good deal of salmon. My the meals that I'm not posting all the time is salmon, grilled chicken, and things of that nature. Burgers, I do eat burgers, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. So when I eat out, you're eating an entire side of a buffalo. Yeah, hey, man, nobody can argue about my protein, because I get plenty of protein, man. And my blood work showed it, right? So I have more than the adequate amount of protein. So I'm good to go with that. I'm so good to go, with my protein. So I don't even, I'm telling you, I have no need to look at, are you getting enough protein? Yeah, more than most. Hey, no, ain't nobody arguing with me. I'm just stating the fact. You know what I mean? So I was just talking about all of the things, right? So I'm getting my protein. I'm hydrating. You know what I mean? I'm taking my shot every single week, and I'm seeing results. The only thing, like I said, I just want to turn up my movement a little bit, because, again, I wasn't able to as much as I wanted to over the months. So I think some of my progress that I could have had, you know what I mean? Probably, lost a little bit of progress. You know what I mean? I'll say that. You know what I mean? So, some of the folks that was actually reaching out to me saying, slow down, kind of caught up. They caught up to where, I was. And what I mean is with body, with percentage, right? With percentage loss and things of that nature. I don't necessarily look at the weight, because there's a lot of women that are in the community, and it's unfair for us being 6 feet and above, comparing our weights to the women who are, anywhere from 5 feet to 5'7", right? So you really don't want to compare that, even 5'8", some of the taller ladies. But because we are 6 feet and above, so we're going to naturally weigh more and lose more. So what you have to do is start talking about percentage. And we're not talking about comparing in a negative way. I'm saying comparing because that's naturally what we do, and we're on a journey together, and it's just a competitive spirit to actually be motivational to one another. That's what I mean when I say comparing, not comparing in a negative way, but we like to see, each other have progress and success. And so success for me came early and often, right in the beginning, because I probably lost for like 40 weeks straight. Lost all the way, right? So to probably like 84 pounds. I went straight through and constantly kept losing, right? So, and then I had my surgery, and my surgery kind of like put a damper on my activity. So it slowed me down a little bit, right? It slowed me down a little bit. So I actually am now, like I said, rocking and rolling. And I mean, lo and behold, remember, I know I said I had went up like a pound. I was 224 point, I think like 7 or something like that. And now this week I dropped 1.5 pounds. So I'm 223. So dropping that 1.5 pounds, and that was because of increased activity. I had a lot of activity, primarily at work. I had a lot going on and stuff like that. So with all of that movement, I actually, seen it drop, and that tells me my biology hasn't changed. My body's the same, and if I do the same things that I started with, literally the same exact things I started with, I'm gonna go right back to that gravy train and be dropping again. So this 25 pounds that I got to lose, right? Yeah, absolutely. 185 loading, Darian with that 185. Well, see, if I go 185, that's gonna put me at the healthy BMI. I think I'll be at like a 24.9 or something like that. Yeah, no, I'm not going there, Darian. We good at 26.9, right? So all I need to do that is get the 198, right? 198. So that's 25 pounds. That's as far. That's literally the bottom out for me. Even if and you know what? I don't know. I say I might get there, I might not. I don't know. But a year from now, I'll probably be saying something different. I probably will get to that goal, right? Even sooner than that, maybe, because again, I plan to move, a lot more. So never say never. Hey man, you're right. Never say never. But 185, man, that's really low for me. Like, I just don't know. I don't know. If I am 185, man, I'm gonna be ripped to smithereens. And I'll tell you that much. But yeah, my like I said, my ultimate goal though is to be just shy of 200 pounds, because that puts me at a 26.9 BMI, and that's absolutely in the my opinion, the healthy range. Because technically what I would like to do is kind of recount my midsection, just drop that spare tire, and get my body fat percentage within the acceptable range. I'm not going for an athlete, I'm going for acceptable, right? So I'm realistic. I'm very realistic. He's going to Wonderland RMZ. He's just talking smack. He ain't going to let y'all outdo me, huh? Well, you know what though? I started at almost 320. So I mean, heck, if I do get to 198, that would mean I lost 121 pounds, right? 100, if my math is right, yeah, 121. Well, I was at 319, yeah. So 121 pounds, right? So I probably would be right over there with RMZ. I mean, we just talking about Zepbound, so I was never going to Wonderland. Now I'm a permanent resident. Yeah, you're right. You was never going to Wonderland. But I will say this, RMZ, at least you're on the higher end of the Wonderland at 195, right? So you ain't go crazy with Darren talking this 185 stuff. You know what I mean? So that's a little, that's a little bit extra there. Like, you know what I mean? But but being at 223, I can see it. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And like I said, with what it is. You sold all your houses in Wonderland gated community. Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's the thing, man. Like with me actually looking to do all of the things, and get myself to a more active lifestyle again over the next few months, like I was in the very beginning. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because like I said, when I first started out, and with the way I was out there doing my thing, I was just dropping, man. Geez, you got this 184 point. You first, Paul. You first. So you get the 184.9 first, man. You know what I mean? So then we'll see what happens. But I do know, over the new year, right? Because this is my second year. So across this, this second year, it's going to be very interesting what happens, because a lot of people I know do lose like that 20 pounds, across that second year, that continue all of the things, because the body, is less resistant. You know what I mean? Even though it's a little bit tougher to lose. So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you have to. Jen says you have to visit Wonderland. Hey, listen. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I don't know. I guess we're gonna see. I don't want to get. I get that low. You know, they was already calling me skinty on my birthday. You know what I mean? And I was probably at 227, 228 or something like that then. So that was 5 pounds ago, and they was calling me skinty. You know, it's amazing what when you actually get like this low, what the smaller amount of weight does. You know what I mean? Like I know, like at this weight, 25 pounds is going to be dramatic. You know what I mean? That probably will be dramatic, you know, because again, losing 96 pounds, you know, is a big deal, but coming from a higher weight, you know what I mean? Like it's a little like crazy, but this, watching the ebbs and flows and then getting to the point where, you know, I'm at the lower 220s and then losing another 25, that I think it is more dramatic, you know. And believe it or not, I did notice like some of the closer people to me saying, well, hey, you know, you looking more fit, you know, looking real fit and you know, you coming down. It's actual people that are kind of farther away now that's saying it all the, you know, even more. You know what I mean? Like people that's not necessarily like close knit. They're like, man, you know, you lost some weight, man. You looking good, lost some weight. So yeah, I know I'm like kind of like on that second win now. You know what I mean? So because I was telling my wife that, I was telling her, I said you legit. I think yesterday or 2 days ago it was like her 6 month. Like this is her official 6 month. And I told her, I said, you down 35 pounds, but I'm just like thinking about 6 months from now. And I was telling her that I was like, you just wait on it. Like you're 6 months in, right? And you're down 35 pounds, nearly 18%. You know, of your body weight. I said, but just wait 6 months from now, you're gonna really love it. You know what I mean? Hey, what up, Vanity? How you doing? You know, so I told her, I said 6 months from now, you're gonna love it. Like you really gonna love it. So you know, that's definitely, you know what I mean, like a thing. Like I told her, I said, you know, and really realistically, man, when CD, you know, Christopher, you know, told me, he's like, you know, he was just saying, like, he's like his one word of advice he always tell people, just keep taking your shot. And now that I'm, you know, I done took the shot, you know, over 60 times, it's true, man. It's really true. Like the one thing that will actually, you know, be a thing. Like if anybody start, I tell them just keep taking your shot. Take it every single week, you know, and it's gonna be dramatic. You know what I mean? You're gonna get to see those differences. For those that are on a weight loss journey, obviously you got diabetics that are a little slower, but for the most part, for those on a weight loss journey, it's definitely gonna be, you know, like I said, you know, something that's definitely, you know, a thing. But earlier I was talking about, you know, people that's clinically obese that's going on the pill, right? I don't think every single thing is for everybody. And the reason why I'm going back to this is because Darium has said, you know, what about the trends, right? The trends that are these trends that we're actually starting to see, you know what I mean? Like what it is it that I think about, you know what I mean? Like what's coming forth. And honestly, I think it's kind of like all over the place. You know what I mean? Like it's not like just like one specific thing. You know what I mean? It's not like one specific thing that's going to be the trend, because there's so many medicines in the pipeline this year. You know, so with all these medications being in the pipeline this year, you know, I think that the trend is going to be one that has ebbs and flows, right? Because different people are going to try different things. You know, I was actually in the comments of one lady that's on the Wegovy pill, right? And she was talking to people. She was saying that she's seeing a lot of people, you know, already, right, saying that it's a fail, you know, it's a no for them, right? Because these people that I'm mentioning right now, they were on Zepbound. So with them being on Zepbound first, right, a Zepbound injection at a higher dose, and then saying I'm going to switch, right? Because I guess it was for maintenance. I don't know all the details, but several other ladies in the comments were saying that it was an epic fail for them switching to that pill. So what I would say is two things, right? One is something you got to do every single day. You're not doing it you know, once a week. You're doing it every single day. And the parameters include you actually having to make sure that you are, you know, not eating, you know, before taking it, right? So I think the stark difference that orforglipron is going to have, right, or forglipron, whatever, you know, however, you know, different people announce it, is you can eat. You can eat. So it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter. You can take orforglipron at any time, and you can actually have food. So I think that that is going to be where and it may be cheaper. And it may be cheaper. It might come out and be a bit cheaper than the actual Wegovy pill, right? It might be slightly cheaper. You know, if Eli wants to come in and really stomp on them, that's how they got to do it, because their numbers was slightly weaker, right? Don't quote me, because I usually like to be exactly right with the numbers, but I think they was more around 13%. You know what I'm saying? Of loss versus the 15% that that the Wegovy is saying that it does. But I think that's going to be, especially for people that got to have a morning coffee and this, that, and the third, those individuals, or they profy, because a lot of people say profy, they definitely want to, they definitely would be a win. You know what I mean? If you can go ahead and eat, with it. The only problem, like I said, I see is that if we have issues with consistency now, for somebody to be taking something every single day, I think it's going to be tough. You know what I mean? That's going to be real tough. But it should be interesting, because people that don't like needles, like the lady whose channel I was watching, that was her main thing. She said she's well aware. She actually is a nurse. She said, I'm actually aware that, you know what I mean, that the Zepbound injection would probably do me better, but but I actually decided to go with the pill because I don't like needles, right? So that was her thing. She said, I don't like needles. I can't do the needles. So that's why I'm really willing to just go ahead and suck it up and then do the pill daily. You know what I mean? So from what I know, she says so far she's doing okay. The thing is, unless you like, I guess unless you like Dave Knapp and you can go kind of jump right up to the 25 milligram, most of these people probably have only got to like the 9 milligram, right? So we haven't seen too much of that highest dose yet, right? And the reason why I'm saying I know this is because, like I said, again, I manage a pharmacy, so I know we had it the first day that it came out, and we've been prescribing, and people have been picking up, and have only gotten to like that 9 milligram, right? So in April, it'll be interesting to see. We're going to see people shifting to the highest dose, right? And then we'll get to see what that does and how it plays out. Do the side effects increase? Not sure, but possibly. You know what I mean? So that is going to be a thing. You know what I mean? So it'll be very interesting. It'll be very interesting to see, how it is that does, on the highest dose. Because so far, like I said, a lot of people, I'm not going to be dramatic, but some people are saying it's an epic fail for them if they actually went from the Zepbound injection over to, like I said, that dose, you know what I mean? Or, that particular drug. Eloralintide, I think, is probably going to be one that's going to be super interesting, because I feel like it actually has the ability, I think, to possibly get as much weight off as Zepbound, if not slightly more. And the reason I say that is because in the trials that are only ran, I think, 48 weeks, it already was at 20%, right? It's already at 20%, the average, in 48 weeks, right? And Zepbound, again, it was a 72 week, right? So if you get that Eloralintide to 72 weeks, you're probably looking at 25%. So that's why I'm saying at least as much, because we all know now at 88 weeks for sure that Zepbound's average is right around 26%, right, at 88 weeks. So which is powerful, right? So I think Eloralintide might have the ability to slightly edge it, possibly. I don't know, or actually meet it. I would say probably it'll meet it, because with 48 weeks, I think Zepbound was probably pretty close to that. You know what I mean, too? So I think they might just be neck and neck, in my opinion. But it is another pathway. So I think that pathway might be good for people, like I said, diabetics, because we don't want to leave diabetics out. And we got to remember that our diabetics are still fighting for something that will actually give them or yield the same results as those that are non-diabetic, right? So, that's kind of like, what I mean by that. But yeah, like this is like I said, amazing to actually be content creating, influencing for a full year, and to see myself in that first video and see myself now, with this different face that I have now, that's like way more like defined, you know what I'm saying, chiseled, might I even add, dare to say. I'm very happy, you know what I mean? It's not that huge, swole face that I had to begin with. And the rest of my body is really catching up, you know what I mean? I got shirts on, I have shirts that I put on that are like sheets. So that's good because I'm getting to see. And again, I'm talking about beyond the scale, right? Because we got to talk beyond the scale at some point, right? We got to talk about inches. And I'm able to see that in my clothing. You know what I mean? I actually have I've been wearing a 36. Hey, cheers, Tamika. I wear 36 right now, but they're actually too big now. So I actually got to order some pants. I meant to order something tonight, but I'll probably do it tomorrow. Because I think I might be in a 34 now. You know what I mean? I might be in a 34. Now, part of it is, like I always tell y'all, that no ass at all, you know what I mean, we all deal with as those that are on GLP-1s, has definitely, has definitely clocked in. It's been hanging around. You know what I mean? So I think that's a thing, but I definitely, my waist is definitely, continue to drop inches. Even though the scale says 223, I think my actual body circumference has seen a much greater effect. You know what I mean? Just knowing that I can actually probably go put on a 34 size 34 pants that I ain't wore since 8th grade. I mean, the last time I wore 34, I had to be in like 8th grade. Had to be in 8th grade. So if I lose another 25 pounds like we talking about, I mean, my goodness, what am I going to be in a 29? You know what I mean? I'm gonna be shopping at Young World, Young World long clothes, but I'll be shopping in the 8 to 20 size. My extra large shirts, I might be wearing the medium. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I will see. But no, I mean, like I said, I'm gonna be continuing to define and add some muscle. Hopefully, I think it'll be cool. I think but I'm just happy because that tells me more than the scale. That's why we always tell people grab that tape measure. Grab that tape measure and then start, measuring yourself, right? Because I was lazy in the beginning. I don't want to say I didn't care about inches, but I was kind of ignorant to what place those inches hold in the journey, right? Inches hold, a dear place in your journey, right? Because it tells you things that the scale won't, right? You know what I mean? Because the scale stops moving for various reasons. Fluid, muscle, fat, all kind of things. But the inches, keep rolling, and that's telling you whether that dangerous visceral fat is leaving. That's telling you, whether, you're dropping that subcutaneous fat when them shirts getting, big and then your pants, the waist, they falling off you, when with your belt all the way tightened, you know what I mean? And I'm getting all of those signs. So I say, I really, like I said, I love where I'm at. I love the dose and I'm really ready to turn up. So yeah, like I said, I wanted to get on here and celebrate my 1 year. I'm gonna jump into the comments and see, I'm in the chat and see if there's any questions, that I can answer before I go any further. Oh, y'all was busy in here. Y'all was busy. So let me get back. Good evening. Oh, let me get my glasses. I'm tripping. Let me go ahead and get my glasses real quick. Sitting here without my glasses. Sitting there without think I'm about to read something without my glasses. That ain't happening. All right, so. RMZ said, look at that difference. Yeah, man. Hell yeah. Sweatpants dropped in and said, congratulations on 1 year on YouTube. I can't stay, but I'll catch the replay. Just wanted to say you were the first male I found on YouTube talking about your journey back in June. Whoa, that's RMZ. Hey, RMZ, that's usually the quote you get, man. You was the first male. You hear that, man? I was the first male that she seen back in June 2025. That's a big deal, man. That's a big deal. Like you said, if you put it out there, they will come, man. I definitely do appreciate that, man. That's why I do this, man. That's why I do this. And to be the first man that she's seen on here, that feels amazing. What's up, Darium? He said, what's up, RMZ? 96 pounds. Traveling T, appreciate that. Hey there, Paul. Great to see you. Hey there. So we got a lot of haze. Are you playing ball with your son? No, I don't play ball with my son. No, my son plays football. He wrestles and plays football. And he's doing really good. He's actually squatting almost 300 pounds, and he's actually benching 150 right now. He only weighs 145. So he's strong as an ox, and he's killing it. He's back to practicing every day with the football squad. Wrestling's over. They got a banquet coming up, but he's doing amazing. Toughest part of my journey has been dealing with these health insurance. We know Travel Techie. He be on them health insurances. Energy as an influence. What has it? Okay, this was about the The trends, we talked about that. Where do you see yourself in year 2? I did go up and talk about that. Picture show. You work in a farm. Are you seeing more insurance companies covering GLP? Travel Techie is relentless with that insurance. It's ridiculous, these PPOs. I should ask the same question, Gen F. Correction. I just wanted to make sure I got through everybody's questions. Paul said, "Mine's is my dress shirts. It looks like I'm wearing my pop shirt." Yeah, man. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Like, you know, so if y'all got any questions, y'all can put Q's, drop them in the chat. You know what I mean? I'll answer. You know what I mean? Like, I just wanted to start out with the video and then get my spiel. But that's really exciting, man. The fact that Sweatpants and Champagne said that to me, that I was the first male that she saw on YouTube back in June, and she's been watching me ever since. Now I know what RMZ feel like because he hear it all the time. But that like I said, that's amazing, man. I'm just happy that, you know, I'm able, but because I do talk to her a lot. What I do too to a lot of people and what I do is I kind of challenge status quo. You know, I challenge their point of views with stuff because I know where the journey took me, and sometimes I do it like out of motivation. I do sometimes get ruffle feathers and stuff because I do be in the comments, you know, even if I'm, you know, like I said, not visible, you know, on every live or every, you know, channel. I do get in the comments. I do have a plethora of people who I watch the journey and I talk to and I give advice to. And the good thing is, to this point, they always come back and say, you know, thanks a lot. You know, you really challenged me. Sometimes you made me upset. You know, but at the end of the day, I really liked the fact that you made me, you were thought provoking. I literally saw at least 3 videos just this week that actually highlighted me, you know, saying, hey, you know, this guy asked this question and it made me think about this. So I think that that's the whole point, right? Because, you know, we can get on here and you know, do the bantering and all that stuff and stuff like that. But at the same time, this is all about, at the core of it, helping each other, right? Talking to each other and motivating each other to stay the course, right? You know what I mean? Because this is a lifestyle, long-term lifestyle. It's not short-term, you know. And that is exactly, like I said, what I did it for that. So that tells me that me being on here, coming down here on Sunday nights, spending my time here and talking to people and going in the comments, doing the shorts and all that stuff, not only just motivation for myself, but it helps other people. And I'm glad of that, because just to hear it, and I'm glad she said that to me, because that means a lot to me. You know what I mean? So that definitely means that I'm doing the right thing. You know what I mean? So it's great to hear it. And it ain't always about the subscriber count. You know, while I don't have thousands, I just have hundreds. It's very important. So I'm grateful. I'm with you on it, bro. I'm a distributor. It's time to flip the script and change the game when it comes to our journeys. Dawn are the days of rainbows and unicorns. We got work to do. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You know what I mean? So that's what it is that I think. Like I said, and then getting the feedback is what it is that we do it for. And like I said, I'm grateful that I got that feedback. And it was a good thing that I did this. And, you know, for me to show, like I said, my first video to now shows that progress, you know. But people point of views, because me and her, you know, if I could just elaborate a little bit, and I'm talking about Sweatpants, you know, I'm definitely one that advocates for you to actually use the tools that's available and not struggle, right? To not struggle. So I was one that was encouraging her to take the 10 if she felt like she needed. Don't struggle, you know what I mean, when you actually have the tool. The tool has arrived, right? So my wife entered the chat. She said, that's what's up, Mr. Brown. And I did cover her journey. Like I said, she down 35 pounds. She down about 18%, and she just hit her 6 month 2 days ago. So she's doing amazing. And I told her 6 months from now, boy, it's gonna be something else. Because, you know, like I said, right now she started at 197 and she's down to 162. So yeah, she's doing amazing. And her goal is to be right around 140. So 135, depending on how she feels when she get there. So yep. But I think and that's, you know, like I said, that would be, you know what I mean, you know, definitely putting her in a good realm. She's 5 feet tall. So that's why, you know, she has, you know, the thoughts of those particular measurements. You know, her like myself aren't necessarily looking for the actual BMI, because her actual the actual chart BMI, because the charted BMI for somebody 5 foot would put her at 127. So she doesn't have a desire to go that low, and I don't think that would probably be appropriate for her too. So I think that the 140 to 135 to 140 is definitely. Oh, you're back. So sweatpants and champagne, she came back. I was just talking about you. I was telling them that a lot of times I challenge you, and I know that, you know what I'm saying, that sometimes it strikes a nerve for you. But at the same time, I do it because I want people to have to stretch themselves and things to be thought provoking for them. And I feel like that has happened, you know what I mean, for you. And I was telling them how, you know, amazing you're doing, because you're just probably about a month ahead of my wife, and you're a little more than 40 pounds down, and your goals, and you're talking about recomping your body fat and all of that. And I just think that, you know, all of that is the right thing, because you evolve as you're on the journey. So we were just talking about that. But, and like I said, being the first male that you seen on here, you know, is a big deal, because like I said, RMZ gets to hear that all the time. I don't hear it as much, you know what I mean, as he do, but just knowing that as time goes on, that's starting to happen. And a lot of people, you know, have shouted me out, have said things, you know, in their comments. And I literally had one girl, her name is Shamika Stanton, I think. She was probably one of the early individuals on it before me, and I watched her journey. She went from 306 to 190, right? She went from 306 all the way down to 190 on the 15 milligram, and she stopped. She just flat out cold turkey stopped taking her medication. She went from the 15 milligram to nothing, right? So there was a concern from me, you know, when she did that. And the reason that she stopped was because she said her mother had a dream about her not taking the GLP-1. Now, to give it a little background and make it make sense, these particular individuals are, I want to say, islanders, you know what I mean? Like, they are from the islands. And her mom does not believe in the treatment, right? So she just had a dream, and then she followed what her mom said and just stopped, you know. And she's a young lady. I think she's probably like in her early 30s, you know, something like that. Maybe even 30, somewhere around there. And again, she stopped cold turkey. So my question to her was, I said, yeah, you do, but it's all love. I know, that's what it is. But I do it because I want you to think, like, to be, you know, I want to provoke you to think about out the box, think outside the box, right? You know, and that's what it is. That's why I do that. You know what I'm saying? But that's why I always try to make sure I circle back to make sure to let you know it's all good. You know, I just want you to think about different perspectives. But yeah, so the young lady, yes, she is. She is doing amazing. She is. Thank you for that. She's in the chat too, so she definitely seen your comments. But so this young lady, so she went down to 190. She went down to 190, and then what happened is she actually came off cold turkey. She was on a 15 milligram. She just flat out stopped. So I actually asked her a question. I said, well, how has the inflammation been, right? Because that's a thing. Like, we all know that inflammation can be an issue, right? Inflammation can be a big issue, you know, with the treatment. And she actually said that I had 2 questions that made me feel like I needed to come and do a video to actually, you know, address these particular questions, because they're good questions. So what happened is it was me and one other person that actually were the 2 questions that she said she had to come back and address. And this was after 5 months. She'd been off the medication for 5 months. Now, in that 5 months, what has happened is what I thought might happen. And what I always tell people probably will happen. So in that 5 months, Shamika gained 40 pounds. She gained 40 pounds in 5 months. So in 20 weeks, she gained 40 pounds. And that's clinically significant, right? She went from 190, right, to 230. She's back to 230 right now. Now, mind you, she started at 306. She lost a little bit of weight in the gym. And then I think 296 was like where she started when she took her first shot. So she ended up at 190, right? So over 100 pounds she lost using the drug and going all the way up to the 15. But when her mother said, you know, hey, I had a dream, she just abruptly stopped and said, you know, when in all actuality, we know what should happen is she should have titrated down, you know, every month, right? All the way down to maybe like the beginner dose, and then possibly stop if she was okay. Now, she said in the first 3 months, I think she said she was like just ravenously hungry, but she just fought through it. And basically, you know, at some point it did it did sort of kind of like subside, but not really. And the reason why I say not really is because she gained 40 pounds. So it's like, did it really? She's not the first person, right? And I feel comfortable talking about this because it's on her channel, right? Paul is making a joke from my video. I wasn't nice to my husband. Oh wow, I'm gonna have to go and look at that video. To me, I gotta go see a video because I don't think I thought I saw you put something up there, but I was out earlier, so I'll look at it once I'm off of here. But basically, she gained 40 pounds, you know, and I was saying to myself, I'm like, that's clinically significant because for percentages, everybody know I'm a percentage guy. That's 13%, right? So to gain 13% of your body weight back in 5 months, right? 20 weeks, that's a lot. You know what I mean? And I'm saying this is off the drug, and it's because her mother said, and I said in going, so there was a physician. Now I don't know what, now the lady, it said doctor, you know, such and such. I don't know if she was actually a physician or maybe that's just her title in there. But she was like, as a healthcare provider, I'm also concerned about, you know, her weight gain in that period of time, you know. And my other question leading that, beyond that was, you know, beyond your mother's dream, right? Did she, you know, how did she feel about, you know, what it did for your life, right? You know what I mean? Like the fact that you lost over 100 pounds and, you know, how you were enjoying life, you know what I mean? And now, right? And now, you know, being back, the beautiful Miss Jesus in the house. Yeah, she in there, Jen. She in those comments. She in those comments. But yeah, you know what I mean? Like it was a question like for her to her mom. Like, did you ever ask your mom how she felt about how you were, you know, doing being at that much lighter, you know, and healthier weight, you know, to where she's saying just stop taking your medicine, and was there a clinical reason? Because that was the thing. Because I asked her, I said, well, what do your labs look like versus on now being 230 versus where your labs were at 190, or haven't you taken them, right? Taken any, or haven't you had time to take any? And that's the thing that's significant here, because people oftentimes will come off, you know, a medication and never get lab work. Like, how, you know, the same way when you go on, when you actually just stop taking the medication, you need to see what that lab work, you know, looks like, you know. That's like RMZ, you know, I believe he did a video the other day talking about intracranial hypertension, right? For those that actually came off. You guys can go check his video out and look at it. But that was definitely deep, man. When he read that study that talked about that, I said, whoa, you know what I mean? That is very, very scary. You know, if that is something that's a possibility for people that no longer take, you know, a weight loss treatment, you know what I mean? That's something that I think that we need to do more investigation on immediately. You know what I mean? Because that should be something that we ring the alarms about, you know, for people that actually been on. And I'm saying people that's on it for a significant amount of time. Not somebody that tried it for, you know, 30, 60, 90 days and came off, because it's probably not, you know, as significant as us that's been on this 1, 2, or 3 years, right? 1, 2, 3, or even 4 years you've been on this medication, and you just, you know, stop taking it, and then you at risk, you know, for things like that. You know, that's super, super serious, you know. But I think that, you know, like I said, I started down this pathway talking about individuals that were clinically obese at a 40 BMI or higher taking the pill, which only promises 15%. And what I'm saying is sometimes it's simple math. You know, I know from my inflammation has went down so much, especially in my legs, they don't swell up like they used to. Absolutely, Paul. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. It's all of the, you know, I don't know if y'all remember, right around Christmas, I had did, would she stop her, if her mother had a dream? Well, Jen, I try to say that she was a young girl. She was a young, and what I mean is I'm saying she was right around 30, I think, around 30, maybe late 20s, something like that. I think she was in her late 20s. And the reason why I could tell she was kind of young, because even like some of the things, like, because she was actually, she's a content creator and influencer. She has a good deal of followers. And one time she had got a new job. She was in a pharmacy and she was on her phone. And I suggested to her, I said, and this is, I guess it's the manager in me. I was like, Mika, you should probably not be on your phone in your pharmacy. I said, because there's several violations that could provoke, you know what I'm saying? And we don't want you to actually get in trouble, you know, or be losing your job because you're on the phone in the pharmacy. And she was like, oh God, you know, I didn't think about that. And she got right off. So I would like to say that she is someone that leans on her mom and her older sister quite a bit for their opinion, right? So Jen, just to answer you, I think that their opinions weigh heavily to the point where it could be detrimental, a little bit, because she functions based on their opinions more so than, someone like yourself or someone that's more, further into adulthood. So, that's probably why she's not thinking about the clinical significance or what have you, with her stopping like that. You know what I mean? So, that's probably the reason why, that wasn't brought up. But yeah, I was talking about the percentages of the pill. So if you're somebody with a BMI and that you need to lose 35% of your body weight, I applaud you for starting somewhere, right? So if you want to start with the Wegovy pill, take that and see if it works for you, great. But I just think that you really have to. Tamika says she used to have foot pain when swelling. It's a lot better with. Yeah, the inflammation is definitely a big factor. But I did I think I'm going all over the place. Let me go backwards. So I did actually do the 12 benefits of being on the GLP-1 way back, or GLP in general, like right around Christmas time. So y'all probably should check out those 12 benefits, because I did tell people that this has for those that didn't. So a lot of the subscribers have seen that. But these medications have so many more benefits that we don't talk about. We don't talk, so it's like every other video we see is always about, well, wait. But it's not just about weight. When you start these medications, they actually do so many other things to your body and for your body that we don't discuss it, and then we just make a brash decision, and that brash decision usually is, oh, well, I'm gonna just get off. And I'm like, you shouldn't do that, because there's a lot of things going on inside your body when you just stop like that we're not talking about. We just say, oh, well, I ain't worried about it. But we're not just, you ain't get on this, or you shouldn't be on this, Now, some people got on this just for weight loss, but you shouldn't get on it not knowing that it's a long-term medication, right? And it does other things that you don't want to just stop, right? Yeah, so Tamika says she do remember the 12 benefits. So it's not a thing that you just want to just stop like that. You know what I mean? I do not know how to reply to folks. It's not working. Right back. You replying right now. So my wife says she don't know how to reply to folks, but you're replying right now. You just did, right in the chat. So maybe you're saying you don't know how to at them. You would just put at and type their name, and then it would, it would at them. That's how you reply. But basically, you basically are not looking at the fact that it has so many other benefits, because when you got on, you just was one track minding it about weight loss. But now, in fact, since you got on it, it's done so many other things that you don't want to just rip the Band-Aid off from, because the main thing we've been focusing on all this time is about appearance, and some feeling, obviously, because if you lose weight, you feel better, right? You feel better when you actually lose weight and you start moving around and all of that, right? You can move better and you feel better and you look better, right? Obviously. But there's things going on internally that we definitely don't want to, you know what I mean? Like just, you know what I'm saying? Ignore it, because basically we feel like we can keep losing the weight on our own. You can keep losing the weight on your own, but the other benefits that you're starting to miss out on can actually be detrimental, because it might have actually now changed your biology in a way that you don't want to see reversed, because what might happen is the things that you didn't have before you got on might actually wake up. They might actually wake up. So that is what I mean by that. You know what I mean? So but yeah, I was saying, like, if you actually are on have a BMI that's clinically that's considered clinical, you might actually want to take a different route of treatment that might net you a higher average weight loss. Because now I'm very comfortable with saying that Zepbound's average weight loss for those that continue it is 25 to 26%. That's the average. That's what I really think the average is for everybody that's doing like all of the things. You're probably going to get to about that, if nothing else, right? So, because again, me being actually a little bit over, I'm like 30.13%. Yeah, about 33.1%. 30.13% down, now. So that should tell you. And again, I'm not at week 72. So I realistically could, by the time in the next 12 weeks, by the time I hit week 72, could be at 35%. It could happen. You know what I mean? So, and that would mean that I'm on the higher end of, what the drug, promises. Now me, when I started, my BMI was a 43. My BMI was a 43, right? So today my BMI is a 30. It's a flat 30, right? So listen, all I see right now is that 3 pounds. If I can get that 3 pounds off, I'm out of obesity, right? So that's my number one first goal over the next 3 weeks. I want to try to get that 3 pounds. You know what I mean? I definitely want to get that 3 pounds up out of here. So you can see me at that 219. See me at 219, you know what I mean? That's 100 pounds down. That was my goal. And I'll be out of obesity, you know what I mean? Because that was my whole thing. Get out of obesity. So once I do that, you know what I mean? Y'all going to get another video, another hip hop parade video of me being 100 pounds down and out of obesity, 30 some odd percent. But again, like I said, obviously I'm not stopping there, because with what I just told you I'm about to do, doing my walk 3 days a week, doing my training, doing my weightlifting 2 to 3 days a week, right? And have 2 rest days. More than likely my rest days is going to be Thursday and Saturday. Now Thursday, because that's the one day that I kind of work at night. I'm usually working at night during that day. But the other day, Saturday, because it is that, we going too, Tamika. We about to get going. But Saturday being that day that I also, not so much a rest day, but I do a lot of things. I started at 39.7, currently 32. That's what's up, Paul. Trying to get out of the dirty 30s real quick. And you on your way. You're going to get out them 30s too, man. You gonna clear that 30. I already know you're going to clear it. You're going to clear it because you Paul. Like, you know what I'm saying? You ain't stopping, right? So you're going to clear it. Just keep taking your shot and you're going to clear it. And doing all the things you're doing. So, my thing is, just to clear that first, and once I do clear it, you know what I mean, I'm going to keep going. So like I said, 3 days a week, I'm going to be doing, my cardio, and then I'll be doing, like I said, my weight training at least 2 days, right? So with the 2 days, Thursday, like I said, I usually work nights. Saturdays, no, because there's always something going on. I'm always doing something, like, you know what I mean? So I don't see Saturday as a day. And I kind of work like every other Saturday. And some days, like some months where it's like 5 Saturdays in a month, I'll work 3. So Saturdays ain't really a day. So every other day I'll be doing something. You know what I mean? So if nothing else, I'm going to walk. You know what I mean? Even if I can't get all my weight training, I'm still going to keep walking. You know what I mean? The best I can. And like I said, the difference this time, what I want to do versus what I did last time, because all of the docs that I follow, they actually talk about the belly fat outside of, like I mentioned earlier, about your sleep, number one, because that is a big deal. And, your stress, right? Sleep and stress. Those are 2 things we don't talk about. Because I know we all talk about the controllables, right? The controllables are usually like we're talking about lifting a weight or walking, right? That's controllable, right? But we don't talk about sleep and stress enough. So try to manage your stress, right? Get that down, and then your sleep, right? So those are 2 things we got to make sure we keep doing. But back to what I was saying about my activity. So since it's going to be nice now, we have good weather, especially the next 3 days. I'm actually going to be out walking the next 3 days straight, because I'm going to start it off like that. I'm going to get going, start it off really good. I'm going to be walking on an incline. And what I mean by that is, near my house, we have a very kind of steep hill. So I'm going to incorporate that. When I used to do my walk before, we used to walk to the mall and then walk back, which in that is like a little more than a mile, because that's what it is, there and back. I'm going to incorporate in this hill. Now, I don't want to overdo it, because again, with my foot and ankle, and then not be able to do it, I'm just going to actually incorporate that particular way with the hill versus going all the way to the mall. So I'm going to go that way, the opposite way of my house, and then come back the hill way. So I'm on the incline, because that's the thing that I was getting to with the docs who were talking about the body fat percentage, right? Of making it move the right way. Now, obviously, you want to let your walk be about 40 minutes, right? It needs to be about 40 minutes, but you want to be on an incline. If you just walking flat-footed straight, it doesn't give you what that walking up that hill is going to give you. So if you get up that hill, right, and your walk spans about 40 minutes, you actually are taking your body to that next level, right? So you can get into like the VO2 max and all that. I won't, but to keep it simple, that's what's required, and that's really what starts tearing up that stomach fat, right? Because that's the thing, So I applaud all the people that got the walking pads, the treadmills. My wife got a walking pad, and that's what she does, right? But I can't do it, like I explained. Being on the treadmill, it doesn't, and this is why I don't do the gym, because with the gym, believe it or not, the machines help people, they hurt me. Because what it is on the treadmill, it's the bouncing. It's the bouncing. I can't bounce like that, like on my feet. So I basically have to be on the level ground. I can go up, and climb, but it's still level ground. It's no bounce back, right? So I have to I know that, you know what I mean? And then what I mean as far as weightlifting, I'm more of a dumbbell person. I can do the dumbbells, but some of the mechanics from the machine, because of my shoulder issue, causes me to have pain that shoots down my shoulder. So, that I still am working on, having that, looked at even deeper. But these are the things that stop me. So what I try to do is get all the things that stop me out the way, so that way I can actually, be able to actually, move without actually getting hurt or stopping, right? Because there's no point in jumping up and going crazy and then not being able to work out and be down for a month. That kills all your progress. So I do believe in slow and steady when it comes to actually getting into your workout routines, right? So, but yeah, there's that. So like I said, I wanted to jump on, holler at everybody tonight, you know what I mean, and really, get a good live in to celebrate my 1 year as a content creator. And it did what it was supposed to do, because I got the comments that I was looking for. I think that it tells me that I'm doing the right thing. I did the right thing when I started this whole thing. And, I feel like, it makes me understand that, there is a need, and I should continue, because people, and beyond just this live, like I said, I have several videos I'm seeing, like I get notifications that says your name was mentioned, and I'm like, okay, what I say now? You know what I mean? So I'm going to, I screenshot it to my wife. I got my face, my page is screenshotted in several people's stuff. It's so important to find what works for you. It's great that you found a routine. Absolutely, Darren, you got to, because you got to keep going. You got to keep that consistency up. But and I'm getting notified that I'm mentioned, in lives and stuff. And it's so cool that YouTube lets me know somebody mentioned me. Like they said, G's one of one. And then I go to it, I'm like, oh, okay. So this was a question I had to ask, and this is a vitamin. And I had actually told somebody else about the vitamins I had told you about, Tamika, the men's Pro Edge, because she was saying she said she's been on a 10. She's loving it. She don't want to stop it, but she hasn't been able to actually get up and work out, right? And this is Reset with Anissa. Reset with Anissa. She had shouted me out because she was saying she started, a vitamin. She didn't do the ones that I suggested, but she's doing something else because she realized that she feel like she could be, deficient in that vitamin B. So she actually is getting that through VitaFusion. But I do suggest, I did post in my post on my post in the community, maybe in the community tab, but it's in my post, the 1 a day daily vitamins that are Pro Edge. Not the regular ones, but the Pro Edge. They don't come in the women's brand, they come in the men's brand. But these give you a massive boost of energy, and safely, because obviously there's things out there that might not be safe. And I'm somebody that has been hypertensive, so I'm very careful at what I take. So this is why I feel good at suggesting this, and again, like I said earlier, I'm not a physician, I'm not your physician. You should always check with your physician before you take any advice from anybody off the internet, including myself, to make sure it's okay for you. But everybody who it is that I suggested to have taken them and been fine, and I take it. And again, it's the 1 a day vitamin Pro Edge, because it has, more than the normal daily amount of vitamin that would give you that energy boost. So some people, like let's say Twan, she goes and get infusions, because when she moved to the 15, it made her very, very, very tired, right? So with her being very, very tired, so with her being super tired, she actually has actually gotten infusions. And I don't really want to go for infusions. Maybe if I have to move to the 15, I would actually end up with an infusion, but I would rather be able to find it over the counter. So now having that over the counter, and it works. It really does work. I'm telling you, it works. So anybody that don't have energy, that's looking for energy in a simple over-the-counter vitamin, the Pro Edge 1 a day vitamins, it says men, but it's it's okay universally. Because when you look at the directions, what you should do is also look at the ingredients, flip it around, look at the women's, look at the men's, and you'll see that they're pretty much in line. It's just that you get more of, like you would similarly if you got an infusion, right? As a male or a female, the same thing. So a lot of times with our stores, it's very gimmicky. So I wouldn't pay attention, to the men and women thing, all the time for everything, right? Because for some things it's okay for male or female to take it. And when the case of vitamin B, it's universally okay. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm saying I feel confident in saying, hey, it's okay to take the male version, because it's not available in the female version, because You know, there are women that take actual testosterone, right? And testosterone, and you know, especially in like their 50s. That's a whole nother video. So we ain't gonna go that far. But that's why I'm saying this vitamin is very safe. It's not nothing. There's nothing wrong, you know, with taking a vitamin to help, you know, your energy, because people need it, especially when they're on the higher doses, right? So I think this was a very good video. You know, I think that, you know, I went a little longer than I usually do. I'm starting to feel Vanity-esque with my 80 minutes, because, I mean, Vanity will give you a quick 4 hours. Vanity will do a quick 4 hours in a minute. I don't want to become a man. Tamika, he crazy. No, they ain't gonna become no man. But she'll jump on here and do a 4 or 5 hour live. You know, I can't do that. You know, that's the bridge too far. I could probably give you an hour and a half. You know, maybe every now and then we've hit close to 2 hours, but that's pretty much where we stop. So there's that. But I thank everybody for jumping on tonight. This was amazing. I'm actually very glad that I actually have been a content creator, influencer for over 1 year now. I'm going to keep on going. You can keep meeting me here every Sunday night. 7:30, you know, as Darium say on my CP time, sometimes 7:45, which is okay because my lives usually don't turn up until late anyway. So in true fashion, shout out to Paul for being the top fan today with the most comments, followed by Darium and Jen, you know, and everybody else right behind them. So appreciate y'all. So man, that CP time be getting me. Well, that's because you're Darium. You know what I mean? You are Darium. You're one of a kind. It's Darium, one of one. Darium, one of one. Yeah, but thank y'all for tuning in tonight. I thank y'all for being engaging and, you know, questions back and forth. Please make sure you did like and subscribe if you're not. Do the hype button. You know, laugh a lot. I'm still trying to get my estrogen levels up, but I get it. But you good, Tamika. You seem to have energy. You know what I mean? You have that energy. You know, people, these particular ladies don't have that energy, you know. I mean, that particular lady is a diabetic. She says she's diabetic, so that's a little bit different. But, you know, they just are people that are looking for, and you're also not on a 10 milligram no more, Tamika. I think you're on a 5 or the 7.5, right? Like once every other week, or, you know what I mean? So your medication is a bit different, but these people are on the 10 and don't want to move because they like everything about it. It's just that they don't have as much energy. So that's why I'm saying I suggest it to them. I also have young people that are around me that actually was complaining about being tired all the time that aren't on the Zepbound or wet medical treatment, that also take vitamins that I suggest, and they actually feel amazing, and they actually working out and doing stuff and saying, you know, I'm grateful, because we're not talking about Great Market, Compound, none of that stuff. This is straight up off the shelf in the pharmacy, over the counter, approved and safe. Okay, so that's that. But like I always say at this point in my videos, she said 5. Oh, you on 5? Okay, cool. Yeah. So see, that's what I'm saying. You're not on a 10, you know, no more. So, you know, you might not need that extra vitamin B to get you going. You know what I mean? So people that's on that King, you know, King Zep, you know, Big Mama, Big Daddy, you know, what they call it, King, Queen, you know, all that. There was a lady that was from New Orleans that used to call it Big Mama, Big Daddy. I can't think of her name. She was a content creator that did that. But yeah, thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I'm gonna let y'all get y'all time, you know, the rest of y'all night back, you know, your time. I know, you know, some of us got, you know, work tomorrow, but I do appreciate y'all for coming in, hanging out, and liking and subscribing and telling people about my channel. Please keep doing it. We over here, the Obesity Warriors, are definitely. Oh, Life of Vivi, Big Mama 12. Man, I knew Darren would know. If nobody else don't know, Darren, Lola is my friend. If nobody don't know, it's Darren. But yeah, I used to watch her. Hopefully she's good. I haven't seen a video in a while. Maybe because I just don't go to the channel, but I did used to watch her videos, and it was cool because she had that New Orleans accent. You know what I mean? So everything was very heavy New Orleans. You know what I mean? So that was cool. That was a cool thing about her. So I did enjoy, you know, like seeing her videos. You know, she was, you know, talking about her struggles and everything. But my Obesity Warriors, I always in my videos, we're in this together. Obesity Warriors, stand up. Y'all have a good night. Thank y'all. She's good. That's good. I'm going to check her out, Darren. All right, y'all. Later.